Hey everybody, here's a new video on how to do a glass sphere in an enclosed space using Eevee for quick rendering. So we've got an HDRI image outside and a glass sphere inside to refract that space and some light casting in. So let me do that and take you to just show you a couple of features here. I'm going to hit 0 for my camera and zoom out. So notice I started with the original sphere, cube, sorry, and then cut a window into it and put in an HDRI background image to be the light source and give the glass sphere something to refract into. And then as we go inside, I have an extra light here to give it a little drama. And all this is done in the Eevee space because if we go into cycles, I know some of you are having difficulty rendering, although if you have the patience and the time, that does change things dramatically. You'll adjust your lights a little bit and see if you want to try a cycles render as well. So let's get started. So File, New, General. And one thing that you're going to want to know is how do you get, a HDRI to use with this project. So just bring in a window here, and remember the website is HDRI Haven. And click HDRIs, and then click Nature, and choose something with a fairly direct light, sun in it. Okay, something like that, or this. So you click the image and scroll down, and then you're going to download either the 2K or the 4K. Either would be fine. There's some other images in here too that are pretty cool. But we're only going to see a little portion of it, so what's important is the light in the sky. So let's get rid of that. Alright, so the first thing, let's scale this up a bit. So I'm going to hit S and then number 6, enter, and then zoom out. I'm going to delete the lamp here. So I left click on it and hit delete. And we'll deal with the camera later. Left click on the cube and then scale it on the y-axis. So S and Y, and pull your mouse. And then orbit around, and we're going to put some loop cuts in here in order to create an opening for our window. So come over to edit mode from object mode. Hit A quickly twice to deselect everything. And then what you're going to do is hover on the right side here and hit Control R. And then left click, and then drag your mouse to bring this loop cut down. This is a loop around the whole piece here. And do that a second time, Control R, left click, pull it kind of down like this. Then hover around the top, Control R, left click, pull that over here. One more time, Control R, left click. Next we have to delete this part of the face here. So I'm going to make sure that I'm in vertex select mode at the top, that's number 1, and hold shift and select these 2 points here. That'll light up the face, then hit letter X and faces. Okay, so that's the face cut out. Next let's extrude this a bit to create some depth to the wall. So I'm going to hold shift again as I select these 4 points, and then EY and push it in And then let's orbit around and get inside the room here. So here we go. Just orbit around and zoom inside here. There we go. Okay, so let's build the frame a little bit more, just a couple of more moves. So hit E and then enter. That created a second set of points there. And then S for scale. Drag your mouse out. And then E, Y again, and drag it this way towards the wall. If it goes out a little beyond, that's fine, no problem. So here we have the basic setup. And now we need then hdri for the background, so you've downloaded it. I'm going to click on the world here, and might as well go back also while we're at this point to go back to object mode and deselect everything with a double A so we don't have the box selected. And now with the world selected, right here where it says color, click on the little dot next to that, and then environment texture, and then open, and then browse to, in your case, downloads. I've got some in my documents here, and I'm going to click my HDRI sky, and then up in the upper right, open image. And we don't see it until we look at a preview render mode here. And so now we can see the HDRI outside. Looks a little fuzzy, but that's because it's a depth of field issue. Oh, sorry. Okay, so let's fix up the box, add a sphere, turn it into glass, and render this. So 3D cursor is still up here, that's okay. I'm going to shift a mesh UV sphere and right click on it, shade smooth, and then hit G and Z and pull it down, GY, move it closer to the window, GZ, move it down, and let's pan up by holding shift and GZ just until it starts to touch the floor. GY, get a little closer, GZ, up a little bit. Okay, so now I'm, oops, depending, we'll get all this squared away in a second, but I'm just trying to pan around and sort of get settled here. GZ. Okay, good enough. All right, glass time. So with the orb or the sphere selected, come over here to your materials and click new, and leaving principled alone, come down here and roughness, make that 0 right there. Scroll down, transmission 1. Okay, base color, click that and put that all the way up top. That'll brighten up the glass a little bit. The box with EV mode, just let me show you. If we were to go over to cycles mode, it's pretty dramatic what happens here, and it takes a long time to render. It uses a lot of resources, so I'm going to try to stay with EV mode for now. But this box is too light, so let's darken that. So we'll give it a material. Click on the material orb again, base color. I'm going to pull this down. You can leave it gray mode, or if you want to give it a little color, you can click base color here. I'm adding just a touch of blue to the back wall. Well, everything really, but that's okay. Another thing I wanted to add, I'm going to go back to solid mode just so I can see what I'm doing better. Click on the 3D cursor, and I'm going to add a light in here. So I'm placing my 3D cursor, Shift A light, and area light. It's going to just, because it's horizontal here, it's going to throw some light down on the floor. So once again, let me go over to rendered view and dial up the power. It is going on. What I realized happened here was my light, GZ, was just right into the floor here. So I had to move it up just so I could see it here. We have a shape over here, square, disc, or ellipse, it doesn't matter. So that's pretty much it. The last of this is to set up our camera and go for the render. So I'm going to hit the letter N, hit the View tab, lock camera to view, N to get rid of the menu, is 0 to see through the camera, and now scroll forward, hold down Shift to pan, orbiting, panning, I'm also going to change the size of this window. I'm clicking on the Output tab and taking the X down to the left, zooming in, panning up, kind of getting in front of the light a little bit, panning over. You can move the light around if you want, anywhere. You know, where does it look good to you? That's pretty cool too. I kind of like that. Could be right outside the window to help with the, actually I like that a lot more. I'm going to go with that. And now F12. And there it is. Take a few views of this, and some variations could be moving your light around, adding a different light or another light. Shift D on the sphere and create a few spheres and scatter them around, change their size. Play around with this and have some fun. Talk to you later.